Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So as you can see from the title, it is the much anticipated Blue Blood palette video. I do want to just set the precedent right now and let you guys know, not really a review. You already know I am a huge fan of the Jeffree Star Cosmetics eyeshadow formula. Now I have 5 of the 6 palettes. I did mention in a previous video that I don't have Alien just because I can't get over the packaging, and if he made it in a square palette, I would definitely buy it, but the weird alien head, not my vibe. I say that now, I will eventually end up getting it, and I know that. Anyway, not really a review, but I will be doing a full tutorial on the eye look we did today, some of my thoughts on the palette, because there are some things about it I don't love, and some other things I do love. So I guess it kind of is a review, but it's not a first impressions. Whatever. I'm going to stop rambling and jump right into the info on the palette. If that's something you're into, make sure to keep on watching, and please don't forget to subscribe because I do upload 3 times a week, and that is the best way to stay up to date on all the fun stuff I'm posting. So if you're ready to jump into the coveted Blue Blood palette, keep on watching. Now first, for size comparison, I am going to show you guys next to Blue Blood. It is a little taller, but other than that, it is the exact same size. Same everything, which is I think really cool that these palettes, especially when Androgyny and Blood Sugar came out, they were like sister palettes. Obviously Blood Sugar and Blue Blood are the same thing. They do have the same layout. You are going to get 18 shades. It is 3 rows of 6. Now there are definitely some things that I noticed from Blue Blood to Blood Sugar that I like more. First, when you look at the Blood Sugar palette, you have a lot of the red tones and pink tones, but there's a nice assortment of neutrals. I really liked that. With the Blue Blood palette, the only negative I have with this is every time I've used this, I have to go blue. I can get a neutral look out of Blood Sugar, but with this palette, this brown Celebrity Skin, it's a neutral shade that I would use as a transition, but other than that, Power is the closest thing I have to a deepening neutral shade. I wish I just had one deep brown in here because there's some nice peachy nude shades. There's a really pretty pink. This shade right here, which is Crystal Flesh, is a really stunning metallic shimmer shade. I just wish I had the ability to use it with maybe a brown smoky lid as opposed to needing to pull in those grays and those blues. That being said, I do understand that that is the vibe of the palette. Kind of get on board with it or don't, but that's like my one negative. The shade that I think is really calling to me more than any other is going to be Cullinan up here. This shadow I used on my inner corner today. This is the first time in I can't tell you how long a palette has had a metallic frosted shade that I can use as an inner corner highlight that I don't then feel the need to go over with a highlighter. It is beautiful and it is blinding. So before I jump into the rest of the palette, I'm going to give you guys what I did on my eyes today. So I did start by blending the shade Celebrity Skin in my crease. Then I took a little bit of Undertaker, not a little bit, a lot of Undertaker, and I built that up on the entire outer portion of the eye. And I did smoke that out a little bit because that was going to be the predominant amount of my definition. Then I took the shade Power and I blended that into the edges of both the outside of the crease as well as into the lid of the eye. Then I took Wealthy and used that as a matte brow bone highlight and took Cullinan on the very highest point of the brow. Then I went in with the shade Ice Tray, which I did use a brush and some Fix Plus on, and I layered that all over the lid today. Then I took Power again and Undertaker and used both of those to re-intensify the outer V and blend that into the lid shade. For the lower lash line, I took a little bit of a black liner. This one's from Makeup Geek. And then I took Undertaker and used that very close to the lash line. Then I took Power and smoked out Undertaker. And finally took Celebrity Skin and buffed that all around the entire lower lash line. Finally, I took Cullinan and used that to hit up the inner corners. Threw on a little bit of mascara and a quick lash, and that is the look we have today. So if you are into color and you like going for that real over-the-top vibe, you're gonna love this palette. If you like cool tones at all, the blues and grays in here work beautifully. It does also have a lot of these really pretty pastel colors, which you will definitely be seeing me use. I have an Easter video coming up, and the look will be 100% out of this palette. I'm really excited to really utilize a lot of those more pastel shades. All in all, I will say that my favorite Jeffree Star palette is still going to be Thirsty She Reigns Supreme, just with the vibes I'm going for. If I want to go neutral, if I want to go colorful, I find I do get the most versatility out of this palette. That being said, all 5 of them hold a very special place in my heart. As far as whether or not this is worth the $54 price, $52 price point, absolutely this is worth it. This, I have not been able to put it away. It has lived on my vanity right here, and every day I come in, I just feel like I have to open it and use it. Even if I'm not exclusively using this palette, I have to grab for it in some way, just because, like with most of his launches, these palettes are experiences. It is not just a palette. I have palettes in drawers. I have shelves over here of palettes that when I'm feeling it, I will grab it down, I'll throw together an eye look, and I'll use that as my shadow of the day. This one, I just feel like it has to live in front of me just because I get such amazing, awesome texture out of it. So the one thing I'm going to do right now, I know the look is already done, I'm going to grab a blending brush. And this is something that I find with blues in general that make Jeffree a genius. So the shade up here, Untouchable, it is a pastel pink. My eyes are very cool tone today, but if you are working with blues and you're not super used to it, what I would recommend is take a little bit of that pink and I would just use it to frame whatever look you have in and use it to just diffuse and blend. If you look from this side to this one, if you see how that pink just kind of tied everything together, and it's kind of odd that a pink is going to be the shade that makes a series of blues that much more intense, but clearly that is what it is. A little bit of pink goes a very long way. Same thing for the lower lash line, just taking that shade into the outer portion of the eye just to blend everything out together, just gives everything this whole vibe and helps it to be even more beautiful. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is the formulas. So there are a few in here. Obviously the mattes and the metallics are beautiful, but then there's shades like Ocean Ice right here. And it's a little bit difficult to work with the first time around. It feels almost like a chunky metallic glitter. It does not, like when you swatch it on, you definitely get some nice pigmentation, but I have noticed that when I've used this shade, I prefer to take like a tacky glittery base and pat it on, because the way that that just shines when you pat it as opposed to swiping it, it just becomes that much more beautiful and that much more intense. Like you can even see just with what's left on the finger, this is beautiful, but it is a little bit of a drier shade. So if you're expecting to take it right on the lid and have it be beautiful right off the bat, it is going to take a little bit of finessing because it is more of a pressed pigment. But that being said, it is a beautiful pressed pigment. Again, it is a little bit gritty and it does feel a little dry, but once you get used to working with the formula, it definitely becomes a whole lot easier to use. Another thing to keep in mind is that blues are going to be intense, and just like the Blue Blood, because these are pressed pigments and not exclusively eyeshadows, there is going to be a little bit of staining on the lids. When I did this exact look a couple days ago, which is why a bunch of you on Instagram were asking for a tutorial, which is why I did this again as opposed to doing something a little bit differently. But when I did take it off, there was a little bit of staining on my lid on the outer portion of my eye. I don't mind that because I'm always going to take in a shadow base before I go in, so it's not going to be as bad of a staining, plus it's all going to be neutralized when I go in the next day. But just something to consider if you are sensitive to staining or that's going to bother you. You are going to get a little bit of staining out of this palette, but that is not nearly enough to keep me from using it. So those are my thoughts on the coveted Jeffree Star Blue Blood palette, and a little bit of my other thoughts on some of his other palettes. That being said, I am planning on using this palette a whole lot more, and you will be seeing it definitely in my Easter pastel video, but you'll definitely be seeing it again. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and let me know down below what are some of your favorite Jeffree Star products, because I love his eyeshadow formula, not just for the price point. Like, I have Natasha Denona shadows that I don't like as much as Jeffree's. So let me know down below what your favorites in his line are, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye!